My name is Mike Attebery and welcome to my channel. On this video, you're going to see me give a presentation at a webinar that my good friend Colton Lindsay hosted for his real estate agent and infopreneur entrepreneur network. And in this video, I'm going to break down some strategies and techniques that you should be using for social media. I'm going to talk about some of the biggest mistakes that people are making on social media. I'm going to talk about some key frameworks that you need to get more attention, more views, and to grow your business on social media. And at the end, there's going to be some additional value, so stick around to the end of the video. Also, in the description, there's a link to a page where you can download the full presentation because some of the slides in this video we didn't have a chance to get to. So make sure you grab that presentation, hit the download button if you're looking to grow your social media and improve your business through social media. Let me know your key takeaways from what you thought was most valuable in the video. Drop it in the comments. And if you like this video, hit the like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for sticking around, and now to the video.
Thanks for being here, Mike. For those of you who don't know Mike he helps run part of the production team, comes to our in-person events, does and leads a lot of what we do. In fact, he has a company it's called Create and Lead Studios. I wanted to introduce him today to go through why social media, why it's consistent, and specifically video, and how you can optimize video for your agent attraction. So go ahead, Mike, and let's go into it. Let's dive in.
Can you guys hear me okay? Everybody? Thumbs up.
Mike's a little nervous. Can you put your hands on the screen for Mike?
Yeah.
He's sweating like a pig in here. Awesome.
Okay, so just drop a 1 in the chat if you guys are using social media to leveraging it for your business.
Go ahead, drop a 1 in the chat. That should really be all of you.
Got some ones. Okay, drop a 0 in the chat if you're not. Is there anybody that's not using social media? Raise your hand if you're not using social media for your business right now.
Okay, looks like everyone's using it.
Okay, great. So I'm not going to try to sell you on social media. You guys have already heard why it's so valuable. Colton's a direct result of why social media is so valuable. And actually our relationship is a result of social media as well. But I do want to go through some other key things that I think are important. One of the things that if you're not posting, I think one of the biggest things that holds me back personally and other people is imposter syndrome. So with imposter syndrome, what you have to remember is there's always somebody below you that you can serve no matter what level you're at. And by serve, I mean entertain, educate, inform, whatever that is.
Well, so what do you mean by imposter syndrome? So what's happening? Are you saying that they're thinking there's no one they can actually serve?
Well, I think most people don't post enough because they have imposter syndrome. Because they think, well, why should I put myself out there on social media?
Anyone feel like that? Raise your hand if anyone feels like that. See, it's partially true.
It's relatable. I think everyone, no matter what level of social media they're at, it's a relatable feeling. I think the other thing that holds people back is a perceived lack of time. I think not knowing what to make content about, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And then not knowing how to do it is something that holds people back, which the iPhone's made that super easy nowadays. So those are the things that I think hold people. So why is that a huge mistake? One of the things that I learned from Colton is that if you want to sell anything, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So if they don't know, like, and trust you, and you taught me this, right? If they don't know, like, and trust you, they're not going to buy from you. And the only way that they can have an opportunity to know, like, and trust you is if they become aware of you. And I think the best way that they can become aware of you, Colton might agree with this, is that you get on social media, and that's how they discover you. So they have to become aware of you first. So if people don't know who you are, they don't know what you do, if you're not sharing that, it's going to be really hard for them to know, like, and trust you. Also, I think people dramatically underestimate the return of social media. Yeah. I think people.
What do you mean by the return?
I think people think too short term with social media.
Hold on, I want to point this out. How many of you guys will start posting on social media and you don't get instant results? You get a little frustrated. You're like, hey, I've been doing this for 3 months and I'm not getting. Yeah, 3 months is instant results. What do you mean underestimating in the long game?
Yeah, so I think people think a little bit too short term and direct ROI, because with social media, there is direct ROI, right? If you host a webinar and you pump a bunch of people in there through social media, you're going to get a return on your investment with sales. But what I think people don't give enough credit for is the long-term payoff of social media, of building a large influence to your audience, and then things like business partnerships. How many business partnerships are you now a part of because of social media in some form?
For sure.
Right?
Several.
Business partnerships, networking, podcast appearances, right? Relationship capital, all of those things, and personal brand influence. Personal brand influence, no matter if you guys are a realtor now or if you're coaching realtors later or real estate agents, that influence is going to follow you, just like Colton's did, where he was building a team and a full-time agent, and then he moved to coach and mentor. So
I want you guys and gals to understand this. There was a day, in fact, there was a quote that I read the other day. There was a day that you went outside to play with your friends, and none of you realized it was the last day you were going outside to play with each other. Think about that. There was a day you used to go hang out with your homies, your friends in the neighborhood or whatever. You used to go do things. That day didn't happen ever again. There was a day I didn't even have an Instagram. I didn't even have an account. I didn't have the WGR. I didn't even have a follower. So when you compare yourself to someone like me or Jenna, you're actually doing yourself a disservice because we all had to start at the same number, 0. But what Mike is suggesting is that when you're consistent over time, compound interest pops into place, you'll get more influence, you'll get more level of impact, you'll have more followers, but people will say, hey, this guy, this gal, they're sticking with it. And if the longer you stick with it, it gives you more credibility. And then we're going to go over in a minute some of the formulas that you can use to even increase the impact that you have. And the result of that, what that means is how often, put a 1 if you think it's a lot or a 0 if you think never. How often do you think people reach out to me because they want me to go on their podcast or they want to collaborate or they want to do something with me? But think about when I first started my Instagram and I had like maybe 10 or less than 100 followers. How many people reached out to me then? Not many, right? But what happens is the compound interest pays bigger dividends. So don't think next 12 months only. Think over the next 4, 5, 6 years, what you're building. Think long game. Is that what you're trying to say?
yeah, I mean, it's just like any other compound interest, right? If you're putting money in the stock market and you're expecting a return next week, is that realistic?
Sometimes, but not typically.
Probably not, yeah. So for most investments, social media is the same as any other investment. It's a long-term commitment, and if you're not making it, I personally believe you're making a mistake. We kind of already talked about people need to become aware of you. They need to know, like, and trust you so that you can sell and monetize later. And if you want people to become aware of you, you have to demand attention on social media. There's a few ways that you can do this, a few key frameworks, but basically everything follows attention, right? If you want sales, if you want leads, if you want followers, if you want views, if you want comments, DMs, whatever it is, it all follows attention. If you're not getting attention first, you're not going to get leads, views, sales, any of those things. Everything, I want you guys to kind of put this framework in your mind that everything follows attention, okay? When we're talking about social media and video. So if we can grab attention, we can have all those other results in our business.
And what is part of attention? Really, that's what we're doing with marketing. The biggest challenge with any business, including this agent attraction framework, is that if you don't have enough attention, it really means you don't have enough qualified leads to offer anything to. You guys with me here? So what are some of the key frameworks that when it comes to the attention, for getting attention?
Yeah, so number one is, I believe the best format is video. So video specifically. I think if you're posting photos and graphics and that sort of thing every day on your social, you're kind of stuck in 2017, 2018. The platforms are all pushing videos right now, Reels, Shorts, Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, all TikTok. It's all short form video right now.
Even YouTube.
That you're getting the most attention on. So we want to do the highest ROI activities, and for me, I believe that is video on social media platforms. So specifically video. And then the other thing is another really, really important framework, and you can look at the way Colton speaks on stage, on this webinar, on social media, and there's a lot of other examples, but you have to speak with conviction and and the right tonality, right? If you're coming on social media and you're getting on there and you're kind of like, you're using a lot of words of uncertainty, or you don't have that confidence, you have to really, the best way to get attention now And we can think of some extreme examples for this, right? The most extreme people that have grown the most in the past few years, names that you guys know, those are all people who understand how to speak with conviction and tonality in their content, right?
Who are some of those people?
So a few examples. So think about it. Donald Trump, like him or hate him. Conor McGregor, right? Think of him. Think of how polarizing he is, and he speaks with conviction. He's like so confident and so certain when he makes a statement. Andrew Tate, Logan Paul, Jake Paul, Gary Vee, Andy Frisella, Tucker Carlson.
Why did you pick a whole list of conservatives, by the way?
Yeah, you can tell I don't have a lot of liberal
can you tell
personalities
what political party
to choose from.
Mike is a part of? Raise your hand if you can tell.
Yeah. But realistically, let's think about that, right? Number one, they speak with conviction and tonality. And the other thing, what's the other thing that they don't do? They're not in the middle, right? No matter what the topic is or the discussion, they are choosing a stance, hard one way or hard the other way, right? They're not wishy-washy, and they're not putting out a generic stance that everyone else agrees with. And those are extreme examples. And with you guys in your business, we don't want to go so extreme and so polarizing that we get canceled. Colton and I have flirted with that line a little bit on his social media and had to kind of retract a little bit because we got to figure out what that threshold is with our audience and kind of optimize for that. But you have to speak with conviction, tonality, and you need to take a position and try not to be in the middle. Then the other question right now is like, how much should we be posting? And I know Colton was talking about this, right? 52 pieces a year equals 52 weeks, 52 pieces a year. In 365 days, 365 pieces of content. Well, what we're seeing right now in most of our results and most other people that I know that are getting results is that you got to post at least twice a day if you really want to grow your followers.
What number was that, gang? Drop it in the chat box. How many times a day minimum? Drop it in the chat. Oh, celebrating Rebecca there with balloons. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just recently went to an event in Florida, St. Petersburg, and it was called the Attention Summit, and it was all about getting attention and social media views online for business, right? One of the things that Ryan McGinn said, he's the one that's holding the event, he talked about that with all of his clients' accounts, he's not seeing any growth with followers until you're posting a minimum of twice a day. A lot of his accounts and clients, he's posting 3 to 4 times a day. So that's kind of what our goal is with Colton, is to get up to 3 to 4 times a day. Now, I know that's a lot. Not everyone can do that, but do as much as you can, right? For what you have and the resources you have available to you, post as much as possible. And don't be afraid to post multiple times a day, because some content creators online might tell you, hey, you don't want to post twice a day. And that's not true. If you want to really grow your account, especially on Instagram, you need to be posting multiple times a day.
So we got a couple questions. Alex asked 2 times a day reels, 1 time reel, 1 time story. Does it matter?
Yeah, so 2 reels. I'm talking, so I'm not necessarily, story posts are a whole separate thing for me. I'm speaking specifically to reels and videos, shorts, TikToks. Those are twice a day on your main feed.
So I will say too, Alex, I was actually posting lots of stories at one point. And what I've cut it back, if you guys notice, oftentimes I only have maybe 2 or 3. On a Sunday, I go with 1 because it shoots up on the algorithm with views. And the one thing I do with stories, and we're not focusing a ton on this, but every story that I do has a reason for the person to see it to engage. Yes or no. And I'll do stupid things like, do you like pineapple on your pizza? Yes or no. Or I'll give them options. I'll make it a way that they have to, that they can engage, not have to. But most people, when it's a simple engagement, they will engage it. And then when Instagram sees that people are engaging on that, they will show it to more people, and it moves clear up. You know, at the top of your Instagram where the stories are, guess what? The more you get people to engage on your story, the more your name goes to the left on other people's profile. You guys with me here? And so that's what you want to be able to do. But the answer is at least 2 reels a day. There are some people, we're not doing this, getting results with the, what are those? Those
Carousel
yeah. Ones. We're not personally doing those. I actually don't think that they're going to be as big as people think this year. Some things that are shifting is maybe a carousel, which is a mix between a picture and the next is a video.
Yeah. Yep.
But everything who's ever getting the most amount of views right now involves video for the most part.
Yeah, and this is something Colton is really good about. But when we're talking about stories, I want you to think of stories as the gateway to the DMs where the sales are done, okay? Where the monetization happens in the DMs. So use the stories to get people to engage after they discover you through the reels and the videos that you're posting.
And I think this goes back to Laura, who we were talking with earlier. Should I stay locally or expand? The challenge is then harnessing people to see your stories or Instagram only locally, whereas you're going to naturally attract people from all the states or even into Canada. That makes you have to begin to think, well, how can I monetize someone in California or someone in New York or someone in Canada? And the only way you can do that is you have a product that you can offer them. It's very difficult, not that this isn't impossible, but it's very difficult to monetize by tier one, putting them on a real estate sales team when you're in Lafayette, Louisiana, and they're in Boise, Idaho. But can you monetize them in your info product? For sure. Can you put them into your network? Totally. One of the things we're starting to toy with our brand is called a national network, where people can actually join our network to be a part of our culture, and in turn, we get a revenue share off of their deals. We'll explain that more on tomorrow, but it's gonna be difficult to stay local. Social media opens you up geographically in such a big way. Is this 2 times a day, 7 days a week?
Yeah, so Kevin, it's definitely not gonna hurt, okay? It's definitely not gonna hurt. There's nothing wrong with posting on weekends. For some of Colton's accounts, we don't always typically post on the weekends. Right now we do 5 days a week. Sometimes we do weekends. But it's definitely not gonna hurt to post twice a day on the weekends.
And one of the things that I do a lot of to help supplement a video right now, I will find trending topics that are highly polarizing, and I will screenshot them, and I will do a 60 to 90 second green screen. Here's an example I recently did. It drove a lot of challenges because it was so polarized, but it was the $1.8 billion settlement with NAR. That got a ton of traction. I recently did a screenshot because many of you have heard of the sexual assault allegations at EXP. Whether it's true or not, it's in the media and it's a hot topic. So all I do is simply do a screenshot. I give my 2 cents on it and I say, what are your thoughts in the comments down below? And it goes wild. So if you're wondering, well, what do I post? Find a hot topic. And don't always, because we're in real estate, don't get stuck posting about simple things all the time like mortgage rates. Yeah, that's okay once in a while, but if all you're talking about is mortgage rates, it gets boring. Boring is what will kill your social. Polarization is what will cause more influence. Now, Mike said one of the things that we've been really testing that line in our brand, and quite honestly, I've passed it a little bit. And I got my hand slapped because of my partnership with Real Brokerage, but I have to step back and remember my brand is a representative of that brand, and it pays me a lot of money. So when you do partnership deals, you have to make sure that you're aligned with your partnership's values. Let me give you a prime example. Anyone heard of a guy named Kanye West? Remember when Adidas deleted him? I mean, he's still gone in and done some incredible things because he's stuck true to his principles and values, what he believes is true. But very quickly, Adidas has ended that relationship. That's such a thing, it crippled them financially for quite a while simply because they didn't align with his polarization on his comments on Twitter. So get polarized with your views, but also remember, who are you in partner with and what are their views? And not that you have to accept all of their views, but also you cannot disrespect them. Does that make sense? Raise your hand. I want to make sure you're with me. By the way, gang, I need participation at a level 10. Can I check you? Are you guys, put your hands on the screen if you're here to play. Are you guys here? Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and to Colton's point, right, we can go super polarizing and we can go do wacky stuff online and get attention, right? But to what extent do we want to preserve our brand and our image? So, you know, the ones that don't care about that, they usually get the most attention. But is that what necessarily the kind of attention we want? Maybe not.
Well, and think of some of those people that were on his list. What happened to Donald Trump's account for a while? Whether you agree with the censorship or not, it did disappear. So you do have to protect that voice online. And we'll talk later, actually, in one of our next conversations about the importance of protecting and creating your own data, your own incubator, because you don't know when or if, by accident, you do get canceled. Got it?
Yeah, so just by a show of hands.
Is that a woo? Did we just have a woo? Give me a woo over there, Gomer. Awesome.
Just by a show of hands, how many of you guys feel like, okay, you at one point or another, you've committed to posting and you put your stuff out there, you guys create videos, you put them up and you feel like, hey, these aren't getting any traction. Like you're so disappointed, you're down in the
Raise
dumps.
your hand if you felt like you put some shit out there that just like flop.
You're just like, oh, what the heck? How do I figure this out? What's going on? Okay, I'm going to give you what I believe is the number one thing that is holding people back from getting more views with the content that they are doing. And that, for me, is switching our thinking when we're looking at creating videos from our perspective to a copywriter's perspective. And here's what I don't mean by that. I don't mean that we want to script and copyright our entire videos. That's not what I mean. What I mean is looking at the video from a copywriting perspective in terms of the format, right? Because what does a good copywriter do? They write an email that has a great subject line and a hook that gets you to click on the email, and then they take you through a journey of suspense through that body of that email, and then they give you some sort of link or some sort of payoff or some sort of free thing or tidbit or information at the end, right? So we want to think about videos in this perspective. Hook, and then hook them in with curiosity, have a good hook in the front, grab the attention, and then hold suspense with conflict or context throughout the video, and then give them a payoff, a resolution at the end. But when you do that, you need to make it concise and end the video quickly. Don't drag out your payoff, because people will click off of the video or swipe away, and you will not get that full watch time. And that full watch time is what the platforms are looking for to push your videos to other people. Right? So end it quickly. Have a great hook that invokes curiosity. We're going to talk a little bit about hooks. And then hold suspense with context, or you can have some conflict. It's kind of like storytelling. It's really the same thing. But then have a quick payoff or resolution at the end.
Well, I want to give a mistake of what even we've made, and so many people are making right now. Now, we know Alex Hormozy is freaking famous, right? Everyone's seen Hormozy's stuff. And what is even gone out there to all these marketing agencies is called the Hormozy style. Anyone ever heard of the Hormozy style? And basically what that is, it's you on camera talking with captions on the screen. Who's seen those before? It's you on screen captions. But the mistake people are making is all they're doing. They're doing it with artificial intelligence right now. They're just cutting the thing, and so it looks similar to what Alex is doing, but it's not following this formula that we're talking about. So give an example of how we actually will shoot a piece of content and then we'll afterwards rearrange it.
Yeah, so ideally in a perfect world, we're going to say the greatest hook in the beginning of the video and then have everything in the right order, and it's going to be in that perfect format that we just described. But many times when we are shooting, and especially to come off authentically, it's kind of hard to do that. And sometimes some of the best pieces of the video are in the muck in the middle. Or maybe the greatest hook is one of the last things that Colton says when we shoot him. So one of the things that we do at our company is we take the best line of that video. Maybe we shoot a 3-minute video with Colton. We'll take the best line that we think is the most provocative hook that will engage people and grab their attention. We'll move that to the front of the video, and then we'll rearrange the format so that it matches this that I'm talking about, the hook, suspense, and payoff.
How many of you guys just understand what he said there? The most impactful piece of your video might be at the end, but if you leave it at the end and they never actually see it, it wasn't impactful. That's how value works. If you have value to deliver, Reagan, and you don't deliver value, what's it worth? It's worth 0. But gang, let's say that you actually have value to deliver. You get on and deliver it, Tina, but no one actually ever hears it or perceives it. What's it worth? It's worth 0. The only way that we actually get our value to be worth anything is it has to be received and perceived. And so we know that with video, the most accurate time that we can virtually guarantee someone will watch is the first few seconds. So those first few seconds, we got to move the most impactful piece of the video there. Then we got to get them into the context or the story or the conflict. And it's got to be in a thing that holds anticipation and keeps them watching.
Yeah, and don't confuse the best line of the video or the best part of the video and the payoff, right? Because if we give them the payoff up front, if we tell them what the answer to the video is, or what happened, or what the important payoff is, what reason do they have to watch to the end, right? We have to keep them engaged. So you want to try to save the payoff for the end, but have a really great, strong hook in that first 3 seconds. That first 3 seconds, I cannot emphasize how important that first 3 seconds is, because just one day, I want you guys to spend a minute and just screen record your phone when you're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube Shorts, and watch how fast you swipe through those videos. And when you have one that catches your attention, I want you to make note of what caught your attention in that video. Now, sometimes that's things that we can replicate, and sometimes it's not. It's some kind of scripted video, or they have props, or like they're in a different environment that was invoked a lot of curiosity. But just pay attention to what you do on your own social media. And I think what Jenna had to say earlier was a really great tidbit about, if you can't watch your own videos, why would anybody else? Right? So if you guys are having trouble and getting bored, wanting to swipe away from your own videos, that's exactly what a user is going to do. And even to a more of an extent, because they don't know who you are most of the time.
In fact, here's something I would challenge y'all to do tonight. Go watch your own media channel, your own shorts, screen record it, and see how quickly you get bored of your own stuff. And I can guarantee you very quickly, many of you will be like, I don't want to watch my own stuff. And if you don't want to watch it, there's not even a point of you putting content out, because no one else wants to watch it either. If you're stuck on your views, it's probably because you yourself wouldn't even watch what you're putting out there. Does that make sense? So let's talk about shifting gears on the cycle of conversion and really sales. So what does that cycle look like?
Just really quickly, how many of you feel this is valuable for you so far? Raise your hand if you feel this is valuable. Okay, great. I just want to make sure we're delivering for you guys here.
Sweet.
So I want to talk a little bit about the cycle of conversion and sales on social media. When we're thinking about views versus leads and sales, what happens many times, and this goes a lot along the lines of the return on investment and getting discouraged, but what will happen a lot of times is, especially, and we've noticed this in Colton's business too, is that your views and attention sometimes may fluctuate opposite of your sales and revenue through that channel, right? It's not always going to be a linear, like it's not always going to follow each other. Sometimes they're going to fluctuate opposite of each other. And the reason that is because let's think about your beginning audience that you have. Let's say you have 10,000 followers. Well, how many times can you sell to those 10,000 followers until you start losing follows, right? They unfollow you because you've sold too much. So we got to remember that there's a cycle, and we have to space out those sales across that attention and that broad width of views. The way I like to think about it is, the more you sell, the more followers you lose. But the longer you wait for an ask or sale, like the longer you wait for that ask, if you think of like Alex Hormozy, how long did he give value the last few years before he made his first ask or sale? The longer you delay that ask or sale.
Can you explain what you mean by that? Because I'm not sure everyone knows with what you're specifically talking about.
Yeah, so the longer, when you're...
No, about Alex specifically.
Okay, yeah, so Alex Hormozy, raise your hand if you know Alex Hormozy. If you're a marketer, you for sure know Alex Hormozy. He has given so much value on social media the past few years. Yes, Kevin's got the $100 million leads book. Exactly. And that, Kevin, is a result of Alex giving you tons of value for 3 years and then hosting a webinar that was, by the way, free, where he got 500,000 people on the webinar. So by waiting that long to ask people to get on a webinar, he was able to deliver enough value that he got 500,000 viewers on his webinar. And then at the end of that webinar, he gave away almost everything for free, but then he made one little ask at the end, and that was to buy his book and share it with a friend. And I don't know what his sales were from that, but I imagine they were pretty astronomical.
Yeah. Yep. And I bought 10 of them, so.
Yeah, I bought them. But I just want you to keep that in mind, that just because you're getting views doesn't mean you're gonna get sales. And when we are selling a lot to the audience that we have to go pull new audience into the system, right? It's a funnel, right? It's just like any other funnel. So if we're selling to that same 10,000 followers, we got to go get more new followers to pump into the system. And the way that we do that is with attention. So it's a cycle of selling, of then going getting more attention and views that lead to more followers, of then selling some more, of then going and getting more attention and views that lead to followers, and then selling some more. Is this making sense to everybody?
Is you following along? Does this sound good?
Okay,
Awesome.
Great.
So how do people know what to make content about?
Yeah, this is where.
Hold on. By the way, do you wonder what to make content about? Like, what do I make content about? Who has that question? Awesome.
Drop in the chat really quick. What do you think you should make content about?
Yeah, we'll give you 20 seconds. Go ahead and write down into the chat. What do you think you should be making content about?
I guess the slide's already up.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. You guys can cheat. Go. Okay. Everything that represents you, what you're interested in, topics that are exciting, answering the questions to market research, family, new listings, cool local places. All right. Those are all great things. Thinking about topics, and we're thinking about attention and broad reach to bring the most people into the funnel. What are the things that you guys think are going to bring or reach the most broad audience? Let's take Donald Trump or the Andrew Tate thing, for example, right? They talk about wide-reaching topics, like politics. How wide-reaching is that? Everyone has an opinion on politics either way, right? That's something that everyone in America can relate to. So where I would like to see you guys make a mindset shift is around not filming a ton of content about your niche specifically, but more content about your hobbies, interests, and the things that you guys enjoy, right? What makes you guys who you are? What are the things, like when someone thinks of your name, what are the things that they associate with your brand? And those are the things that you should do more content about. And you'll notice this with a lot of Colton's content recently. We are some of the messaging has been a little bit more general and broad, like topics that almost anybody can relate with, or they're more wide-reaching audiences. Because if we're just talking we have 10,000 followers and we're only talking about maybe the listing that you have on Apple Street, right? How many people is that relevant to? It's relevant to the people in that neighborhood or the people in your town. Like just a few, right? So the more wide-reaching we can keep those topics, the better it's going to be for your attention and views. So some of the things that I have: habits, opinions, especially controversial or relevant opinions, or recent things that have happened that you have an opinion about. Interest. What are the things that you could talk about for hours, right? What are some of those things that you guys could sit on your couch and talk to your friends with for 2 hours about? Those are the things that are going to give you the most energy. And also, when you're talking about things that you enjoy, like these hobbies and interests, how much easier do you think it might be to come across authentic and speak with the conviction and tonality that we talked about, right? That's one of the most important things, is to speak with conviction and tonality. So we're talking about those topics, it's a lot easier. Relatable topics, cult-type topics, think CrossFit or vegan, stuff like that. Culturally relevant topics, and that sometimes that could be like a news article or a political thing that's happened recently. You know, we can go for some of those more polarizing things. Current events, all those are better topics for attention, okay? Now, you're still going to talk about your niche. You're still going to provide value and education to people or speak about your niche specifically. But the ratio that I would recommend would be like 3 to 4 to 1. So 3 to 4 hobbies and interests and generic broad topics, and then 1. So that when people come to your page, they're scrolling through those videos. Once they discover you through those broad topics, they're going to realize, oh, hey, he's a realtor in Boise, Idaho. Or, hey, she's in Phoenix and I need to buy a house in Phoenix, right? Like that's the mindset shift that we're looking for.
Let's do this because we're running low on time.
Okay.
I want to get to some of the examples. Wait, before you answer that too, things that don't matter for views in editing.
Yeah, so I mentioned the event that I went to, and his name is Ryan McGinn, but some of the things that he talks about And he's done 180 million views across his different platforms. And some of the things that he talks about that don't matter, that they have tested and seen proven results, some of the things that don't matter are hashtags, posting times, posting multiple times a day, trending audios or styles, using your iPhone versus a professional camera. It doesn't really matter. You can use your iPhone. Reposting former videos again. If you had a good video that you had success with, this is something we'll do with Colton's account, is we'll go back and reuse a video. If it got a lot of views, in 3 months, 90 days or something, we'll go repost that video. If it worked once, why wouldn't it work again? And this was his advice to me. I thought this was a really great tidbit that I wanted to share with you guys. But he says, get to 100K on TikTok as fast as possible by investing $3K a month in your content. Once you get to 100K on any platform, life, especially in business, is going to change for you. You're going to have a different authority and brand and reputation. And when people come to discover you or research you, they see you have 100K. How does that normally go for you when you see someone that has 100K? You're like, okay, this person actually has done something.
Pay attention
right?
to that. And this is weird because this is the psychology of the social media era. We are actually judging people's value based on the number of followers. I'm not saying this is right or wrong morally, but if your brand has 100,000 followers, if my brand has currently almost 40,000 followers compared to someone with 400, which one naturally just has more credibility? Exactly.
Great. So these next two videos are a couple examples of what I think are great viral videos that really grab attention and they have really good results. So I just want you to watch these just so we can kind of get a feel for what these look and feel like.
You're going to have a real estate boom in 2024, starting January 3rd to August 30th. That is going to be when the most houses are sold in 2024. We may not sell another damn house after November. The Federal Reserve has already talked about reducing the interest rate 6 times next year. I don't care who the current sitting president is, the housing market, inflation, the cost of doing business, they are going to do everything that they can to get the perception that those things are under control. The reason that I say August the 30th is because September, October, you are going to see this onslaught of political advertisements. And anytime that you have all of that going into people's mind, the uncertainty makes them very nervous. And I think that people just typically in an election cycle are traditionally very slow. If you're thinking about selling your house in 2024, you need to get that house on the market sooner rather than later.
Okay, really quickly, what did you guys notice about that video? How does Glenda speak when she speaks? Can you tell she's confident? She's speaking with authority. She has that I am not wrong energy. It's like she knows, right? She has taken a position. This is her position, and there's no wishy-washiness about it. She knows exactly what she thinks on that topic. And what else do we notice? It's a widely relatable topic. No matter if you're in real estate or not, you want to see what is her take on what's going to happen in the market, right? Everyone wants to know what's going to happen with the economy, what's going to happen with the real estate market. That's a question that everyone is wondering.
Kids homeschooled?
I don't like that word because my wife and I are poor educators. We don't trust ourselves to give our children what they need. We're just apart. They're privately educated. We bring in teachers into our home.
We're doing the same thing. We hired a teacher. I've been calling it homeschooled, but I'm going to start calling it I privately educate my kids.
Yeah. Everyone thinks homeschool means mom and dad think they're so smart. They're going to anti-socialize their children. I'm like, that is definitely not what this is. My son, Daniel, he's 11. He's a beekeeper, Rubik's Cube expert. He also is a computer programmer.
This kid's got it all.
We lean into our kids' strengths. I think the public school system is a joke. Half of it's lame babysitting. One teacher per 30 students is ridiculous. Zero customization. I have a son who's autistic. He has his own teacher. My son asks brilliant questions all day long. He's a philosopher. They're like best friends and companions, and my son is getting now the education he needs.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it takes 6 minutes for an idea to stick.
Your kids homeschooled?
A couple things with that video. We noticed there's a lot of cuts, and my guess is that video was rearranged from the actual podcast conversation. Okay, and then homeschool. Is that a piece of content that's about Chris Crone's niche? He's a real estate, 401k, speaking,
Money investor.
He
teaches
business
money.
guy,
He teaches how money blueprint
right?
works.
But he's talking about homeschooling on social media, right? He's reposting a video about homeschooling. But both of those videos that I just showed you had over 1 million views, and that last one I think it said it had 174,000 shares.
But I want you to wonder this: the moment that he started talking about private education, you started thinking that costs money to do what he's talking about. Did anyone else think that? It's like, well, how does he afford that? That then creates a level of credibility as well. Someone to hire a full-time teacher for their child, all of a sudden is like, wait a second, how is he paying for that?
Yeah, then if you guys want to learn more about attention, virality, 2 books that I would recommend are Influence by Robert Cialdini and then Contagious by Jonah Berger. And in Contagious, he goes through exactly what constitutes the reason that things go viral. So I think those are both great resources.
We're starting to get to the end of our time here with Mike, but what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to real quickly, what questions? Are there anyone like to ask Mike a question? We could just skip to the next part, but does anyone actually have a question or should we skip? Should we skip? Oh, we got Teresa. Go ahead and click the raise your hand button, but the Rebel Real Estate Agent has a question.
There we go. Okay.
It's
yeah,
Teresa. Let her hear you, everyone. Make some noise for Teresa. Awesome. What's your question?
I am just curious what apps he's using, what editing tools he's using, anything that would be helpful to us to make our lives easier in that department.
Yes, and I actually have a full training for you guys to download at the end of this. It's going to have editing tools and 3 different equipment packages that you guys can use based on your budget. But I would say the 3 that we use most are CapCut on a phone. If you're using an iPhone, CapCut is a great tool. There's another one called Video Leap. And then for the captions, we use an app called Captions. So if you just search the App Store, it's called Captions. And then if you want to actually do real video editing on a laptop, we use Adobe Premiere Pro.
Now, some people are so busy, they're not going to be able to edit their videos. So what do you suggest for those people that don't have the time? Because I don't have the time. I've never wanted to. It's not what I want to put my attention to, but...
Yeah, I would suggest hiring an editor. You guys want to keep your focus and attention on your highest return on investment activities and tasks in your business. And video editing, for the most part, is probably not going to be one of those things. So I would suggest you can look on places like Upwork, Online Jobs PH. There's Facebook groups for videographers and editors locally, usually almost everywhere. So I would search those. And then we also edit videos for real estate agents and infopreneurs and entrepreneurs and businesses. So
now understand though, because we started with a virtual assistant, which was awesome because we could start putting out more content. But you get what you pay for. I want you to remember that. So the challenge that we faced is they didn't know that content, the hook, context, conflict, and the payoff at the end. What they were doing is they were seeing all these videos, but they didn't see the in between the lines. So it looked like we were getting the same product visually, but results was not.
Yeah.
And how we ultimately measure results are people sending us DMs, leads coming through, and people watching our content and following us.
And most editors that they're not copywriters, they're not marketers, they're linear editors, meaning if you give them a video, they're going to edit it A to Z, they're not going to rearrange it at all. So it takes some training, it takes a little bit of know-how. If you can find an editor that has a copywriting background, you're going to be in the money.
Awesome. Let's go over to Laura. It's Laura. Let her hear you, everybody.
So it's been a while, but I was told, and I almost want to think I was Sharon. I watched something that he did before he even came to Real, that your grid should be the like your storefront of what you want people to know about you. So I've always kind of kept my grid real estate, or what I'm teaching about real estate, and I've kept my stories to my personal life. Is that out? Should I have my whole grid just about me and like what's relatable and not keep it strictly towards real estate?
So are you speaking about the way your grid looks when people come to your page?
Or content?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we do with Colton's page is we pin the most valuable, like, educating post to the top of his videos or his grid, so that when someone comes to his page, they're instantly getting good value, right? And they instantly know, oh, this guy is a coach for real estate agents and infopreneurs. Okay, now I get it. And then, but we don't really worry about the aesthetic of the grid. I don't think that's one of the things that Ryan talked about. He doesn't think that matters when we're talking about attention and virality. But There's also, there's 100 different ways to do social media, and I'm not going to say that any of those people that said you should have a good-looking grid are wrong. I just don't think it matters that much.
I don't think it's I don't mean like a matter of it. I know for a while it was trending, like, to have it look good.
Well, that was like 2019 though.
Right. But my point is, if I want to attract buyers or sellers and agents to come to Real, do I keep my content strictly that on my grid, or do I also add the fact that I like to go hiking and be with my grandkids and things like that?
Yep, exactly.
Like an example of recently on my story was, or not story, a video that I recently put up that went and did semi-okay. I don't remember this. Oh, the very first thing says we've got a horrible southern border policy. Like, that's literally what we open up the call with, or not the call, the video with. And that's on there. That's very polarizing. What's the fear? The fear is, well, you're going to offend someone and then you're going to lose a client. That is old school thinking of losing clients. We actually want to weed people out that are not our ideal target clients faster. And if you scroll through my grid, some of the things that we have on there. Skiing. We had a video that I talked about why skiing is better than snowboarding that had over 15,000 views a couple days ago or a week ago or something. And that caught, I had people reaching out to me locally saying, hey, can I come ski with you? I had one dude reach out from Park City, said, dude, snowboarding's better. Come up to Deer Valley. I'll give you a free lesson. The dude offered me a free day of snowboarding and lesson with him. I turned him down because I really don't like to snowboard. However, my point is, people want to engage with you, what you're all about. And then think of whatever you're putting in as your value add is seeding it. You're seeding that in between glimpse of that, like putting almost little tiny commercials in. Does that make sense? In fact, that's, in my opinion, why mainstream media sucks so bad. You get this short segment, they've got to cram everything in, and then they blast a freaking commercial at you. Mm-hmm. They're blasting commercials and they're controlling the agenda. Whereas if you go watch a long-form podcast or even a short-form reel, you're not getting blasted by agenda. You're getting human interaction. You're getting to see what the regular people are about. Is that helpful?
Okay. Yes, thank you.
I think we have one more maybe.
And just be aware, gang, that we always have to innovate because what's working today might not work in 12 months. So we have to constantly be shifting because what works today definitely is not the same thing that worked in 2020. It's changed. So we have to be always adjusting. We got room for one more, Jason and Emily. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that.
Hello.
Hello. Let them hear you. Make some noise. Let them hear you.
So, what is the most successful piece of marketing that you feel like you've done to date? Why do you feel like it performed well? Did it increase your followers, generate revenue?
So are you asking me or Mike? Are you asking me specifically?
Either of you.
Okay. Ask one question at a time. What's that first question?
Okay. So what is the most successful piece of marketing you've done to date?
I wouldn't say it's a specific piece, but I would say it's the fact of how consistent I am. I am so consistent with putting pieces of marketing out. And what was your other question?
Well, it kind of related to that. So why do you feel like that piece performed well? But
yeah, the idea is consistency. If we look at a specific piece that I think performed well, that I can think off the top of my head, is I did a green screen, and I told you guys and gals about that. I did a green screen on that NAR settlement of $1.8 billion. That did maybe 10,000 views and created 87 leads for us off of that one video. But why was that successful? It was really polarizing at the time. How many of you guys over the last few months have been wondering, well, what the fuck's really going to happen with this settlement? I mean, we're not super worried about it, but we're definitely concerned enough to pay attention. Like, I wonder how this is going to unfold, right? Like, how is this going to impact how I get paid in this industry? Mm-hmm. And it will make some impact. I don't think it's going to be as big as everyone thinks. Like, some people are very afraid of it. But what I did know is that people had opinions about it. What I did know is that there were people that were going to write on that post commenting, this is why we deserve a full commission and we didn't break antitrust. What I also knew was if there was people like, What if this affects my commissions? How do I make sure it doesn't? You follow me here?
Yeah.
So I always look for those. It goes back to what Mike said. I always try to find, as much as possible, topics that polarize in my target world.
Yeah, and if we want to create the kind of results that Colton has created, we need to do what Colton does, right? We need to replicate as much as we can with our resources, replicate what he did, and you guys will get the same kind of results. Real quickly,
Awesome.
Greg, I think he had something to drop into the chat for you guys. There will be a link, and this full presentation is in there, so you guys can download that, and then there's also a bonus of a list of 100 hooks that you guys can use for your videos.
Awesome, everyone. Give it up for Mike Attebery, everyone. Give him a hand. Thank you so much for being here, Mike. So I want to make sure. So, thank you. Yeah, give it up for Mike, everyone. Appreciate him for being here. Awesome.